This lesson is part of Media, Mobiles, and Ministry, which is a curriculum set of over 40 lesson plans covering 4 different topic areas: foundations of media ministry, mobile ministry, social media ministry, and do-it-yourself mobile media creation. You can find more information at www.mobmin.org/train.
Welcome. This is Lesson 2 in the Social Media series, Social Media Security. Let's start by saying security is a feeling, but privacy is a setting. Once something is posted online, it can stay there forever. So this should stop us in our tracks and cause us to ask ourselves many questions. This lesson will help us consider ways that we can protect ourselves and others while using social media. We will start by looking at 3 ways that our content is seen on the internet, through media and IT companies, governments, and other people and organizations. Firstly, media and IT companies. To be able to use their services, we give Google and Facebook ownership of whatever we post or upload, as well as the right to track and record what we search, or even other sites we visit while logged on to their services. Basically, these companies know more about us than we can imagine. This includes everything we've searched for, videos we've watched, what applications we use, and the locations you have chosen to share with them. How does this make you feel? How does this make you respond? Governments. There is a constant battle between organizations such as Google, Facebook, and governments to be able to access the information that is collected. For example, in 2017, Google received almost 50,000 requests from governments around the world to share with them information on 80,000 Google accounts. Well over 50,000 account information was given out. So we need to be careful about what we share online. There is so much to consider. One story. Governments expect to see something online. There was one person who was applying for a visa to visit North Africa as a short-term missions trip. And as a precaution, he decided to remove all his social media presence and a lot of information from online. And when the reviewer was looking at his visa application, he wondered why he was missing information online, why there was no social media presence. So they contacted the applicant and asked, why do you not have any online presence? It was highly suggested to him that he puts an online presence so that he would not be seen as a threat and that he was not intending to do something harmful to the country. On the other side of the spectrum, conversion to Christianity is considered a crime in some places, and some governments are opposed to Christian outreach. So government internet and social media surveillance can sometimes be a threat to believers as well as ministries. So it's difficult to find the balance between how much information and how little information we should share. Other people and organizations. What people can see and learn about us largely depends on what media platforms we use and how we have set up our privacy settings on those platforms. The most significant information security risk we face today is human error. Overall, most people are willing to follow policy, reliably perform their roles and act responsible. However good people may be, many still make poor decisions when it comes to social media activities. It happens without intent or even thought. And technology has made it so easy. The next bad choice is just a text, a tweet, or a web post away, and these poor decisions can unintentionally put the individual and their employee at risk. Once information is posted to a social networking site, it's no longer private. The more information you post, the more vulnerable you become. All the technical controls in the world cannot prevent human error. Training, however, can significantly reduce it. Let's have a look at some of the common mistakes. One of the classic mistakes is leaving a social media account, a page, or group open and unattended. This can allow opportunity for someone to hack their account and do as they please. It's very easy to forget what accounts we are signed up for, So keeping track by having a spreadsheet or a database that records account information and who has access and who is responsible is a good idea. This will help ensure us that nothing out of the ordinary has happened or is beginning to happen. Vulnerable applications that have access to your social media can be compromised to gain access to your accounts. For example, a vulnerability in a third-party app called Twitter Counter allowed attackers to hijack hundreds of high-profile accounts. Now, if we search Google, we can see some of the top cyber attacks, from fake social media accounts sending malware posts, to major social media accounts being hacked, money being stolen, and information being leaked. How can we decrease the chances of this happening to us? Well, install antivirus software, keep our apps and devices up to date, search Google for recently discovered vulnerabilities, and have a trusted source that provides up-to-date information for you. Phishing attacks are one of the most common ways hackers attempt to gain access to your personal and account information. There are two types of attacks. Deceptive scams, where people pretend they are something or someone legitimate to get to your information. For example, Google requests that you reply to an email with login information. Please note, they will never do this. Sphere scams. This is when going after specific people when they know detailed information about you. For example, fraudsters customize their attack emails with the target's name, position, company, work phone numbers, and other information to trick the recipient in believing they have a connection with the sender. So it's important that we take note of our privacy settings. As apps are constantly updated, we need to keep checking that our privacy settings are up to date, are maintained at a suitable level. It's not enough to simply set the settings when you register for the first time. In Facebook, we should know how to check and adjust privacy settings. We should know when we post something, how do we choose who can see it? Or how do I change the audience of a post that I've shared on my timeline? Or how can I remove a tag from a photo that I've been tagged in? By doing a simple Google or YouTube search, one can find suitable, great tutorials that share about the relevant settings on our social media platforms. Three good ways that you can reduce human error include giving staff and volunteers social media training. I can't stress this enough. Training is key. Limit access to social media accounts. And don't allow your entire team to be administrators. You only need 2 or 3 to do it well. And put someone in charge, someone who's responsible to make the final call to make sure that policies and procedures are followed. Other ways to minimize security risks include investing in secure technology. A virtual private network can be a very helpful tool. This allows you to create a safe and encrypted connection over a less secure network, such as the internet. Monitoring social media regularly. Make sure you know what other people outside of your staff or volunteers are posting on your pages, groups, and profiles. If there is someone who disagrees with what you are posting and then trying to create controversy about your ministry because of this. Having a social media officer, a manager, is a great someone who is responsible to keep on top of this, for monitoring the social media activity. It's good to perform a regular security audit, asking ourselves questions. What privacy settings have changed? How does this affect our usage of the tool? And do the right people still have access and the appropriate privileges? We can also Google ourselves, our friends, our family, our ministry. What can be seen? Is there concern about what is viewable? And how can you help mitigate that in the future? Sometimes your searches might reveal that some information should be taken away or posting. Updating habits should be changed. Another thing we can do is setting up 2-step authentication. Two-factor authentication is a security feature that helps protect your social media accounts in addition to your password. Simply searching Google or YouTube, you will find instructions how to set this up. We can also use an app locker or an app vault. These are designed to help protect your sensitive data that you do keep on your phone. Some of these apps will allow you to even hide or password protect apps, so that if someone gets into your phone, they will not be able to easily open an app or to view your data. This can be very useful for storing sensitive image, passport copies, bank information, etc. Another thing we should do is consider creating a social media policy, which should include such things as creating strong and secure passwords, minimizing risk by following recognized procedures, and what to do in the event of malware, crisis, attack, etc. Let us remember, security is a feeling, privacy is a setting. This is an IT professional's mantra. Remember this phrase and it will help to direct expectations and lead to better understanding in this realm. Security deals with risk, privacy deals with control. So what sort of risks are you willing to accept? Answering this question will determine many aspects of your social media usage. For example, will you have open or closed groups? What sort of photos or media will you post? What amount of detail in your ministry will you share? Will names of people and places be used? When we are creating a social media policy, there are some things we consider. Rules and regulations such as etiquette and engagement. When someone says something negative, how do you respond? And confidentiality, what can and cannot be said and shared online. Roles and responsibilities. Who is in charge? Who has the final say? Who creates content? Who leads the training for new staff and volunteers? And who will monitor your social media accounts? What about security risks? Will you use two-factor authentication? Where and how do you store passwords? What sort of training will you provide? How will you respond if there is an attack? So we can work out how to create a social media policy by going to this website, looking at the free template and examples. A social media policy is a crucial tool for any organization that uses social media, and I'll say it again, in fact, it's crucial. So at this stage of the video, it would be good for us to stop and do a few learning activities. Maybe take a couple of minutes to think about what you have heard. Write down 1 to 2 action steps that you think would be good for you to do as a result of this lesson. For example, today I will review my personal security on my social media accounts. Or today I will assess the risks associated with my involvement on social media. Take time to go through the various privacy settings on your social networks that you or your organization are part of. Teach yourself and train your organization, your ministry, to be proactive instead of just reactive. Maybe you can start the process of putting together a social media policy in place. In summary, one of the most important things for us to remember is that we are not invincible, and we must take precautions and teach others to take precautions. This minimizes the risk. Remember, in places like the Arab world, our mistakes can lead to national believers losing their lives. Make sure people realize that they need to take care not only for the sake of themselves, but also for the sake of those who can be affected by poor choices we make in securing our social media outreach. And lastly, I want to say, make sure you pray. Make sure you cover your social media ministry in prayer and ask God for creativity and wisdom so that we can do this better and we can stay secured. Thanks a lot.